The Hauwei Matebook is Huawei's first attempt into the two-in-one market, which currently is pretty much dominated by Microsoft with their Surface Pro lineup as well as the Surface Book. So how good did Hauwei do? Well, let's find out in this full review. So in terms of that price, you're looking at $700 for their lowest end model, which is a Core M3, 128GB of storage, and 4GB of RAM. But you can bump all the way up to the Core M5 with 512GB of storage and 8GB of RAM. The model that Hauwei gave me to review is actually the Core M5 with 8GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. So pretty much it's the highest end model minus the SSD. There will also be a Core M7 model coming up. However, I don't have the price on that or the expected availability. The Matebook is offered in the gold color that you see here, as well as a gray. Now personally, I am actually digging the gold. The only thing I don't like is the white front. Now one thing you have to take into consideration is the fact that the Matebook does not come with a pen, a keyboard, or the dock. So all of those accessories you have to purchase separately, and it does rack up the price. The keyboard folio comes in at $130, the dock is $90, and then the pen is an additional $60. So despite having to purchase all of those extras, it's still cheaper than the equivalent Surface Pro 4, and it's a little bit more powerful considering it does feature the newest Core M5. The design of the Matebook is absolutely outstanding. It features one of the thinnest designs on any two-in-one to date. Factor all that in with the ridiculous low 640 gram weight, this thing is light as paper and it just feels excellent when it comes to that thinness. Just like with Huawei's phones, they don't skimp out when it comes to the actual construction. Having a metal unibody design with chamfered edges, the actual construction of this thing is outstanding, especially when you take into consideration the value per dollar. Unfortunately, that does not get passed on to their accessories. Now, I'm not saying their accessories are poorly made by any means, however, the functionality behind them is a little bit limited. Take the folio keyboard cover, for example. It only has two actual viewing angles, and to me that's absurd considering this is meant to be a two-in-one. The construction of it, however, looks and feels great, being made of premium leather, and it's available in 4 different colors. But for $130, I expect this thing to be able to pretty much go in any position that I need it to go in, and definitely be a lot more comfortable when it comes to typing on my lap. The key travel to me was fine, but some people might find it a bit cramped, and the tactility behind those keys is great. It almost feels like a mechanical keyboard or the butterfly keys found on the MacBook. The keys are backlit, but they don't get very bright. There's about 3 or 4 settings to choose from when it comes to that brightness. It also features a glass trackpad, which is very responsive, and it gives you a nice comforting click whenever you right click or left click. The Mate Pen is a whole different story. It's extremely light, which I guess could be a benefit, but kind of feels cheap, to be honest. It does feature a laser pointer, so if you're giving presentations with this, you can actually point to whatever you're giving a presentation on, and it features 2 buttons, which one is used as a right click and the other is used as an eraser. The Mate Pen charges using a micro USB cable, which is a bit better than having to replace the battery every so often, and it's definitely better than Apple's whole process on charging the Apple Pencil. The tip of the Mate Pen actually has a little give to it, and I guess that's because it supports 2048 levels of pressure sensitivity for increased accuracy whenever you're drawing or writing. In my testing, it works relatively good whenever you're using it to jot down a quick note or maybe do a random doodle, but if you're a graphic designer, this is definitely not the pen to use because you do get some jaggedness whenever you're doing circular designs or patterns as well as straight lines. The battery life has been outstanding so far since I haven't really had to charge it at all, and also the ergonomics of it aren't too bad. I mean, it's relatively the same size as a standard mechanical pencil with a little bit more grip to it as well as a more stout design. To me, one of the biggest negatives of the Mate Pen is the fact that it's not magnetized, so you can't just clip it on the side of the Matebook like you can with the Surface lineup. Huawei's answer to this is a little sleeve that comes with the folio cover that you slide the Mate Pen in, and then it becomes magnetized and it's able to pretty much attach to one area on the folio cover, and it's not very secure, so it doesn't really work that good. Now the Mate Dock is a very solid product, and none of the things that I previously said about the other accessories apply here. It's extremely premium and it does its job plus some, and for the price I honestly don't think that it's a bad deal whatsoever. It also features a leather folio cover just like the one for your Matebook, so you can get the same color to match. Now what it does is it attaches to your Matebook via USB Type-C, and then it branches off, giving you 2 USB 3.0 2.0 ports, an Ethernet port, a VGA port, as well as an HDMI port. The Mate Dock folio cover also features a little sleeve for the Mate pen, giving you a much better transportation option. Now you also have little trays, and inside those trays you have a small USB Type-C to micro USB cable, as well as an adapter for charging the Mate pen. The speakers found on the Matebook I didn't find to be as good as some of the competitors out there. However, they're not horrible. For most people, there'll be plenty whenever you're using them to, listen to some music or watch a video. They get plenty loud. It's just I didn't find them to be as loud as some of the other options out there. Unfortunately, you don't get any SD card expansion with the Matebook, and this was a bit of a bummer and something that I figured Huawei would have definitely put into it. It only features one USB Type-C port, and that's a bit of a bummer, but you know what? It seems to be the norm nowadays when it comes to ultra portable laptops such as the MacBook. The display found on the Huawei Matebook is actually really good considering, again, the price point. It's a TFT panel, so the colors aren't going to be the most accurate, and there's definitely light bleed present. It's a 2160 by 1440 display, and you will notice pixelization when it comes to viewing things at a higher resolution. Now, I did have to go in and adjust the scaling, but to be honest and to be fair, it's a really good display. But with that being said, it doesn't compete with the display found on the Surface Pro 4, the Surface Book, or even the MacBook for that matter. Performance-wise, this thing is stellar. Now, again, I have the Core M5 with 8GB of RAM, and I didn't really notice any hiccups or stutters, at least nothing that I can blame the Matebook for. Day-to-day task, photo editing, even doing some light video editing such as 1080p, and 4K is going to make it stutter, so I wouldn't go that far. It's going to be just fine. You can even do some light gaming on this thing, and it will be a great experience. The screen does get warm after an extended period of time, so if you're resting your hand on it doing some note jotting or anything like that, you will feel that heat, but the battery will die before any damage occurs, so you don't have to worry about anything like that. Now, in terms of battery, you can expect anywhere between 8 to 9 hours of use, and it will charge in roughly about 2 hours. The Matebook also features a fingerprint sensor, which works in conjunction with Windows Hello to give you a quick and safe login experience, and it works really good. It's just as fast as the other fingerprint sensors found on Huawei's phones, and it's definitely one of my favorite features on the Matebook. Software-wise, you're looking at Windows 10, which is just like Windows 10 on any other machine, but the difference is that Huawei is including something called the Signature Edition for people over here in the US, which is a bloatware-free version of Windows, so whenever you start booting it up for the first time, you don't have to worry about any demos or applications that you have to uninstall right off the bat. So all in all, my personal opinion is that the Matebook is a serious competitor in the 2-in-1 market. It offers great functionality, a great build, and a great price, and it gives consumers another option. Yes, it has its negatives, but that's like with anything else on the market. We're not going to find a perfect phone, a perfect tablet, or a perfect computer. There's always going to be something that holds it back. With that being said, I definitely recommend the Matebook to anybody looking to get a 2-in-1. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Do be sure to like it, subscribe so you don't miss any future content, follow me on all my social media platforms, and of course, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Be easy.